The studio lights glared hot, the audience buzzed with excitement, and millions at home leaned closer to their screens. It wasn't a political hearing this time. It wasn't a courtroom or the halls of Congress. It was daytime television, The View to be exact. People tuned in expecting sparks, but no one could have predicted just how explosive the moment would become. At center stage sat Rosie O'Donnell, comedian, actress, and outspoken commentator. Beside her, the other hosts shifted in their seats, ready for the day's headline discussion. And across from them sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, invited to talk about her growing influence and her unapologetic stance on justice and equality. The conversation started smoothly, talk of policy, talk of representation. But then Rosie leaned forward, her tone turning sharp. The audience quieted as she fixed Crockett with a pointed look. "Jasmine," Rosie began, her voice tinged with skepticism, "you've been making headlines, you've been taking bold positions, and people are talking about you as a rising star. But let me ask you something. Do you really think your education and background are enough to handle the kind of national spotlight you've stepped into? I mean, some would say you're punching above your weight here." Gasps rippled through the crowd. It wasn't a softball question. It was pointed, dismissive, meant to put Crockett on the defensive. The hosts' eyes darted to each other. Even the producers in the control booth froze for a second, unsure how Crockett would respond. But Jasmine Crockett didn't blink. She leaned forward slightly, her gaze steady, her voice calm and clear. And then she delivered a response so powerful it silenced not just Rosie but the entire studio. "Rosie," she said, "my education didn't start in a classroom. It started watching my parents work 2 jobs to keep food on the table. It started in communities where children went to schools with broken windows and outdated books, yet still dreamed of becoming doctors and engineers. It started with the lessons you don't find in textbooks, the lessons of resilience, grit, and refusing to let the world tell you that you're not enough." The room went quiet, the audience leaned in, hanging on every word. Crockett continued, her voice gaining strength. "Yes, I went to college, yes, I went to law school, and I fought for every inch of it. But the truth is, education isn't just degrees on a wall. Education is the lived experience of knowing what it's like to be counted out and still rising. Education is walking into rooms where no one looks like you and refusing to shrink. Education is turning pain into purpose. And that, Rosie, is what prepared me for this spotlight." The audience erupted in applause, but Crockett wasn't done. She raised her hands slightly, waiting for the claps to die down before she delivered the final blow. "So if you ask me whether my education is enough, I'll tell you this. My education isn't measured by Ivy League credentials or how many doors were opened for me. It's measured by how many doors I've opened for others. That's my education. And it's more than enough." The roar of the audience shook the studio. Rosie O'Donnell, who had started the exchange with her trademark confidence, sat speechless. Her mouth opened slightly as if to reply, but no words came. For once, Rosie, the quick-witted queen of the talk show circuit, had nothing to say. She leaned back in her chair, silent, her eyes fixed on Crockett with a mixture of surprise and respect. Clips of the exchange exploded across the internet within hours. Headlines blared. "Crockett silences Rosie with legendary response, and education isn't just degrees. Crockett's viral moment inspires millions." Social media flooded with praise. Teachers shared her words with students, parents repeated them at dinner tables, and young people, especially those who felt their own schools and backgrounds were dismissed, held their heads a little higher. For Jasmine Crockett, it wasn't just a win on television. It was a chance to redefine what education really means. In a world that often equates worth with privilege, she reminded everyone that knowledge is found in resilience, in lived experience, and in the courage to keep fighting for justice. By the end of the week, the story wasn't about Rosie O'Donnell's tough question. It was about Jasmine Crockett's legendary answer. A response that turned doubt into inspiration and left a nation reminded that education is not just what you learn but what you live. And Rosie, she never denied it. In fact, later she admitted with a smile, "I asked a tough question and she gave me a tougher answer. That's what legends do."